Okay, we will call this regular council meeting to order for Monday, June the 12th. And I will ask Cindy, Councillor Maceras, to read the land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and for those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
Thank you, Councillor Maceras. I'd also like to welcome everyone who is with us today. I appreciate you coming. CEO Becker, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Could I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Mayor Barkley, I would make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wing. All in favor? All right, carried. Thank you. And we'll move into 3.1, the regular council meeting minutes for May 23rd. When we're ready, have somebody to make a motion to adopt those, please.
I'll move that we adopt those minutes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? No? All in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. And then 3.2, the agenda and priorities meeting for June the 5th.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Any discussion about, everybody's reviewed the minutes? No? Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you. So we're now going to move into our public hearing. So I will declare the public hearing relating to Bylaw 1704-2023 open. And there's actually two different bylaws today, just so everyone understands. So the first one is changing the land use from commercial to residential. And then the second one will be the Woodlands Area Structure Plan Amendment. So we're going to do two separate hearings. Just to keep things separate so everybody is fully aware of that. So we'll open the public hearing, and the order of the public hearing is that we'll have an introduction of the bylaw from administration, and then I will call on anyone who wants to lend their support to the bylaw, and then I will call on anyone who wants to oppose the bylaw. So to begin with, I would welcome Manager Shaw up to go through the first bylaw, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So the first bylaw that you're considering is an amendment to the Municipal Development Plan. This amendment proposes to amend land within the Woodlands subdivision from commercial to residential. And if you skip to the third slide. There you go. So you can see here where the approximate area that is going to be amended is currently designated under the Municipal Development Plan. The second slide indicated to you that the MDP is the guiding statutory plan for planning and development within our community. So all other plans under it, such as an area structure plan or area redevelopment plan, must be consistent with it. So the developer or the landowner wishes to amend approximately 1.49 hectares or 3.46 acres in a regular shape in the southeast corner of the property. So the purposes of the amendment is to accommodate future single-family residential at some point in that future. There is no timeline for when this development might happen. This area encompasses phase 12 of the existing Woodlands Outline Plan, or phase 2 of a proposed amendment to this plan. Okay. So The existing Woodlands outline plan identified that the future commercial site was going to be located within the southeast corner of the plan area. Now, this plan also identified that in the event that there is insufficient market demand for a commercial site when the phase of development containing the site is being created, then consideration could be given by council to converting the site to a R3 multifamily. So even at that point in 2014, there was consideration that this would be like a swing or flex site that could change from commercial to some form of residential. In this case, they had identified that it would be multifamily. So in that eventuality, there would be a formal amendment to the Woodlands Area Structure Plan to determine the future use of the site. Now, this proposed amendment will create an area of single detached residential within this area of the property rather than commercial. Now, commercial is not likely going to be required to service this area of the community. Commercial opportunities are located elsewhere within our community within a short drive from here. So the proposed amendment directly affects 3 properties. Now, if council approves of this proposed amendment, council may be thinking, well, what happens to our bank of commercial land? Because if you recall, last year you had amended highway commercial land and you changed it to R3. So we removed 3.86 acres from our commercial land bank with that amendment. And now this one comes along and it's going to remove further commercial land within our community. So I looked at the amount of subdivided and service and properly zoned land that we have now under commercial. So we have about just a little over 40 acres of land that is now subdivided, serviced, and properly zoned. In terms of non-serviced or not zoned, but designated under the municipal development plan, we have about another 18.2 acres. So with respect to non-service or zone commercial, we have about 6.16 acres. So all in all, we have about 65 acres of land still available for commercial development in the future. When the MDP was prepared back in 1998, I would say that the planners of the day were overly optimistic in terms of the amount of commercial land that we were going to need at that time. So removing this portion of land from the commercial designation, we believe is insufficient with the amount of land that we have still currently available for commercial development. So with respect to the public hearing process, council is required to hold one before the second and third readings of a bylaw. The notice of the public hearing must be given to the public. The public hearing was advertised in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. And in terms of planning considerations, I mean, I've indicated that they were likely overly optimistic with respect to commercial land. With this area removed, there's still over 31 acres of various commercially designated land in this area of Innisfail. Planning has considered the removal of these lands from commercial use and recommends that they would best be used as residential in keeping with the proposed long-term use of this area.
All right, thank you very much, Manager Shaw. So I will ask if there's anyone who supports this bylaw that would like to come forward and speak to that. Okay, if not, is there anyone that opposes this bylaw and wishes to speak against turning this into residential property? Okay, are there any further comments from administration? Nothing? Okay, thank you. Does council have any questions for Manager Shaw?
I guess.
Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, I got a question for Manager Shaw. My question is, if we decide to go and have residential, right, moving it from commercial to residential, what is the opportunities for us as council? And I know this discussion had come up when I took my leave of absence, was creating more affordable housing. Like, is there an opportunity with this area to create more affordable housing, changing it from commercial to residential? And that's my question before we get into the next steps. Thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Hystad. So in terms of affordable housing, that would have to be a discussion that would have to occur with the landowner to see whether or not they were attuned to wanting to consider like a affordable housing within this area. It could be a discussion between the town and the landowner, but certainly it would be up to the landowner to make that consideration about providing some form of affordable housing within the community.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to Manager Shaw. Just a couple questions, and further to Councillor Hystad's question. The zoning, where we're talking about changing from commercial to residential. Now, what zone are we going to look at? Is that today? Is that part of this discussion? And if it is, can you just refresh my memory on what an R3 will allow, an R2 or an R1, whatever we're proposing? Because I think it follows up to what Councillor Hystad is saying about, you know, there's no sense changing the zoning when it won't allow for row housing or condos or whatever. So if you could just enlighten me a little bit.
So through the chair to Councillor Harrison, you're not necessarily looking at zoning today. What you're looking at is the broader context from a planning standpoint, that this is land which is currently designated as commercial under the MDP. The landowner wants to see it change from that designation to residential, which would then allow them the opportunity to develop single detached residential at some point in the future. So the land itself is zoned as R1C, which accommodates single family dwellings, as well as some other forms of housing. So if you're looking at particular types of housing, then when the developer comes along and he wants to develop his land, he may look at making an application to rezone the land to accommodate a wider range of housing within that area. But for today, what you're really looking at is more of a broad type of scope, a 30,000 viewpoint, so to speak, with respect to this land. And council's decision-making would be from the standpoint, does it make sense to change this land from commercial to residential, or should it stay as commercial? So that's really the gist of this bylaw, is that, you know, should we set ourselves up to have future residential in this area, or should we continue to have commercial?
Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? No? Okay, then if not, I'll accept a motion, please, to close this public hearing. Councillor Wynne?
Mayor Barclay, I would make the motion to close this public hearing.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And then later on the agenda, we actually have the motions down under section 7. So we'll continue now to the second public hearing. So I hereby declare the public hearing relating to Bylaw 1705-2023 now open. So again, the order of the public hearing shall be introduction of the bylaw from Manager Shaw. Then we will call on anyone who supports the bylaw, and then we will call on those who wish to speak against the bylaw. So carry on, Manager Shaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in this particular application, you are considering changes to the area structure plan as well as changes to the outline plan. Now, the area structure plan, any changes need to be adopted through a bylaw. With the outline plan, it's a council resolution because it's a non-statutory plan. So having said that, you can see on your screen here the areas under consideration. One being the northwest quarter, section 173528 west of the 4th. The second being the northeast quarter, section 173528 west of the 4th. And Plan 71NY Lot O. So subject lands are approximately 99 acres in area, located within the Woodlands subdivision. Those subject lands are currently vacant. They have been owned by the landowner since 2008. And the Woodlands Area Structure Plan and the Outline Plan provide guidance to subdivision and development applications within the subject properties. Again, this provides you just with a brief planning hierarchy for your consideration. We spoke briefly about the MDP in the previous public hearing. Area structure plans and area redevelopment plans fall in under the MDP itself and must be consistent with the MDP. Okay. So Council has a strategic plan, and one of those priorities is that it has a robust and adaptable economy priority and initiative. So you are looking at striving for more diverse, affordable, and accessible housing. So you wanted to remain competitive as an attractive place for people to move to, develop short, mid, and long-term housing strategies, and focus on standalone and partnership investments in housing. Ensure that affordable housing options are available to those who need them, as well as land use decisions resulting in a diversity of housing products being available as well. With respect to the Woodlands Area Structure Plan bylaw, it has had a very long history. Bylaw number 1214A adopted the South Innisfail Area Structure Plan on September 27th, 1982. Then you had another bylaw that adopted the Woodlands Area Structure Plan and repealed that previous bylaw on April 27th, 1989. And then another bylaw came along in 1374. It adopted the Woodlands Area Structure Plan and repealed bylaw number 1260 on June 14th, 1999. So bylaw 1420 adopts new Woodlands Area Structure Plan and repeals bylaw number 1374 on November 24th, 2003. And then you had a bylaw 1517-211 that amended bylaw number 1420 by amending a portion of the plan area, and that was done on January 9th, 2012. Bylaw 1571-2014 adopted a new Woodlands Area Structure Plan and repealed bylaw number 1420 and bylaw number 1517-2011 on October 14th, 2014. The Woodlands Outline Plan was adopted by Council Resolution 326.10.14 at the same meeting. And then bylaw 1630-2019 amends bylaw number 1571-2014 on August 12, 2019 to reflect localized changes within the northeast and southeast of 1735-28 west of the 4th. So what does that look like? So You have some diagrams that we've been able to find. So this is Bylaw 1214A in 1982. At that time, they did plans in black and white, so I know it's very difficult to read it. But in essence, you see there's a connection to 54th, and the proposal was to have existing lotting adjacent to the properties that are existing on 36A Street. So that then changed in 1999. Now, unfortunately, as I indicated, there were some bylaws that were in between that 82 plan and the 1999, but we were unable to find any diagrams that supported those particular bylaws. So here you have Plan 1374, 1999, and as you can see, the access is discontinued. You have lotting beside the existing 36A Street. You see a different configuration given for the subject lands, and then in 2003, you have more refinement of the land use areas within not only the particular subject area, but also other areas within the Woodlands area structure plan. And so this continues through into Bylaw 1630, 2019. You see new configurations proposed by the landowner over the bylaw that was adopted by council at that time. And now you have bylaw number 1705, 2023, which sees a connection to 54th Avenue, as well as other changes that I'll go into very soon. So what's changing between this bylaw and the previous bylaw? There is some minor adjustments to Table 1. There's also some minor adjustments to Table 2. Policy 5.2.2 is amended to general language to reflect change from specifying lot size in bylaw number 1630, 2019, giving greater flexibility in subdivision design. As I indicated before, the block of commercially designated land in the southeast corner is replaced in favor of single detached residential. The width of a trail corridor along the north boundary is expanded from 6 meters to 16 meters. There's the direct physical connection to 54th Avenue, as I alluded to before. And maps 1, 2, 3, and 4 are amended to reflect localized changes to land use and the transportation network. As I indicated to you before, the Woodlands Outline Plan was adopted by Council at their October 14, 2014 regular Council meeting. So if we look at a comparison of the existing to proposed land use concepts, you see on the existing one, you have a trail connector to 54th Avenue. You have a trail corridor between the existing residential on 36A and the proposed development to the south of it. You also have some changes with respect to multifamily, and of course you have the commercial block. Looking at the new proposed plan, you see that connection to 54th. You see the trail corridor along the north property. You see that the multifamily is now changed from a cul-de-sac to a straight through street, and the commercial block is removed to accommodate that residential that was looked at under the MDP. As well, the phasing plan is proposed to be changed. So right now, this particular area that's looked at for the first phase was actually considered like in phase 11, as well as phase 6 of the development. The actual development was to occur within the southeast corner. And also in that consideration of having that commercial block of land. So now what we see here in the proposed phasing plan is that development would start right up in the north portion of the plan area. The next area that would be developed would be in that southeast corner. And that southeast corner would then require the installation of servicing connected to our municipal services in the northwest corner of the plan area. So what changes between the existing and this proposed one? It increases the number of single detached dwellings by 399 to 409, decreases the number of multiple dwelling units from 65 to 59, increases the amount of municipal reserve from 15.19% to 16.24%, replaces a block of land shown as commercial with residential, increases the trail corridor to 16 meters, adds a transportation connection to 54th Avenue, development of phase 1 along the northerly boundary of the plan area will connect to existing municipal services located within 54th Avenue. And of course, phasing of the plan area has been changed to reflect that proposed development. So now if we look at the condition assessment of 36A Street, the next slide. And so we have here 36A Street from 37th out to 54th. And you can see that portions of it are classified as different types of condition. The first part is in a critical type condition. Second part is fair, and 54th Avenue is in good condition. So in talking with our operations staff, they have indicated that 36A Street between 37th Street and 36th Street is estimated to be renewed in 2031. The remainder of 36A Street to 54th Avenue estimated renewal in 2038. 54th Avenue is not in the 20-year forecast. So a two-lane collector roadway, as per town design guidelines, has a daily service limit, daily service volume of just under 10,000 vehicles and an environmental capacity of 5,000. So phase 1 will use 54th Avenue and 36A Street to 37th Street. Next development phase in the southeast corner, and will use an unnamed collector road to exit onto Woodlands Road. So if we look at phase 1 in terms of traffic generation, we know from talking to the landowner that there's consideration of 38 single detached dwellings anticipated within this phase. So we're looking at 9.4 trips per dwelling unit per day. And this comes straight out of an engineering manual dealing with trip generation. So the AM peak is expected to be 27 trips with 7 inbound and 20 outbound. PM peak, 36 trips with 23 inbound trips and 13 outbound trips. And then daily, you're looking at 358 trips with 179 inbound trips and 179 outbound trips. The AM peak was defined as between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. PM peak was defined as between 4:30 PM and 5:30 PM. And here you have our design guidelines for the types of roads that you are dealing with respect to this proposal. You have a 20-meter right-of-way and a 16-meter right-of-way. 20-meter relates to 36A Street. The 16 relates to 54th Avenue. And so from a road profile standpoint, 36A Street, as I indicated, it's a 20.117 meter right-of-way under the subdivision plans of 772-1970 and 882-0485. And width of pavement is 12.5 meters, allowing for a parking lane on either side, as well as a travel lane. And so this would be a view of 36A looking westbound at the intersection of 36th Street. When it comes to 54th Avenue, so it's designed to be a north-south collector with lots on either side of the street under subdivision plan 772-1970 with a 20-meter right-of-way. However, under subdivision plan 882-0485, there was a reconfigured street geometric so that 54th Avenue became a 16-meter right-of-way. Width of pavement is 10 meters, allowing for a parking lane on either side with a travel lane. However, there is limited parking space available on this street due to driveways as well as a fire hydrant located. And you can see in the figure here, we're looking northbound on 54th Avenue from the terminus of the road. And you can see that there are quite a number of driveways that exit onto this particular roadway, as well as you have the fire hydrant, as you can see on the left-hand side. With respect to vacant and service single dwelling lots within our community, the Hazelwood subdivision has about 14 single-family dwelling lots available. Dodds Lake has about 6 lots. Napoleon Meadows has about 17. Bella Vista has about 10 lots, and other locations around the community have about 19 or so. The table that you have here shows the number of single detached dwellings approved between 2017 and 2022. You can see that there's a variance between each year. In 2021, for example, you have a high of 16. This is when the Bella Vista development came on stream, and so the builder/developer was building quite a number of homes within that subdivision. So basically, you're looking at 6 to 8 houses a year for Innisfil in terms of seeing new single-family residential. Open space within a plan is regulated by the Municipal Government Act. It requires landowners to provide up to 10% of a parcel, less all land required to be provided as a conservation easement or environmental reserve for municipal reserve, school reserve, or municipal and school reserve. So the open space in the proposed plan, it's shown as being 7.74 hectares or 19.55 acres. This is more than what is required under the MGA. So you can see the configuration as shown in the diagram here. You have a stormwater pond as well as environmental reserve, and a lot of linear corridors being used for trail corridors with two specific, site-specific park areas for playgrounds and whatnot. I mentioned to you before that there's a proposal to widen the trail corridor along the north boundary from a minimum of 6 meters up to 16 meters. This diagram shows you in terms of what is the distance between existing houses and proposed houses, and as well that 16-meter trail buffer. Okay. So what does this look like? So the red line that you see on the picture to your on the left side of this slide is the 16-meter setback from the north property line. So you can see that there's a fair amount of open space on the west side of the property. Then you have a very heavily treed area in the middle, and then again more open space on the east side of it. So the photo that you see at the top there, that's taken where there's that large clearing that you see towards the open space that you see, that triangular parcel of land at the top there. So you can see that there's not much, very little vegetation. The photo on the bottom of the slide shows you what the vegetation looks like if you look towards the 54th Avenue. So as I said, there's a fair amount of vegetation in the middle of the plan area, but very little on either side. So if you go to the next slide, so this is in about the middle of the area. So there's, as I said, there's a fair amount of vegetation between the proposed development and the existing residence. Although you don't see it in this particular picture, I'm actually kind of leaning on a fence that exists there. And so that fence, just to give you some idea, if you look at like that large open space, can you just bring your cursor over to the picture there? No, that way. Okay, so there you can see the fence. And so if you bring the cursor up just a little bit. Okay. So you can see kind of faintly the fence line that runs across the middle of the picture there. And so that's where the picture is taken from. And so that's about 237 feet from the north property line. So you can see there's a fair amount of vegetation between any proposed development and the existing development. And again, it's just a aerial view of the buffer itself. So in terms of the advertising requirements, I went over this with the Bylaw 1704. We did the same with Bylaw 1705. So we had contacted about 188 landowners within the community, government agencies like Alberta Transportation, school divisions, advertised in the Albertan, as well as advertised on the town website.
All right, thank you very much, Manager Shaw. So we were going to open it up now for the gallery, and first of all, I would ask if there's anyone who supports this bylaw and wishes to speak, please come forward. And when you do come up, please state your name into the microphone because we do record these meetings. Anyone want to come up? No? Okay, then I will ask if anyone who opposes the bylaw and wishes to speak. And we will just begin this process. And I just ask that, we are here to listen to you. So we're wanting the dialogue to remain respectful, which I'm sure it will be. And that is why we are here today, is to have this public hearing, give you the opportunity to give us feedback. So thanks again for coming. So welcome. I think you're okay, Dixie. Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect, thank you. My name is Dixie McLeod. I live at 3557 54th Avenue here in Innisfail. Thank you first to Mayor and Council, town staff for the opportunity, and thank goodness you have someone like Manager Shaw, because when I read through 20 minutes of meetings, it wasn't quite as clear as what he got. So I live in the last lot on the west side of 54th Avenue before the development. And when we bought our home, we were under the impression that 54th was not in the plan to be a connector. And so we have some pretty significant concerns with the proposed amendments. I'll go through some of those today: traffic volume, housing, property values, lift station, and the delay and defer of the development. This is just a picture coming off, this is 37th Street. I don't know where my cursor is. That's running that way with the intersection that goes down 36A. And it is a busy corner, it is a busy infrastructure, and like your assessment said, it is not in good shape. Definitely sort of a concern when we thought of the amount of traffic coming down from 57th onto 37th, onto 36A, and over to 54th. It seems like that's just a significant amount of traffic to divert through an existing residential when the plan that's already on file is planned for 2 collector roads coming up to Woodlands. Not an engineer, I'm a teacher and a social worker, so 10,000 vehicles per day, if that's what the engineers say, I get it. I do not want 300, 400, 500 vehicles a day going past our home. The average, When I had looked at the numbers, which I actually ended up pretty close to Manager Shaw, so an average of 2 vehicles per household, 8 to 10 trips per day, 380 vehicles per day, that is a lot of traffic through a very long residential route to get through to a main thoroughfare like 52nd Avenue. The traffic patterns concern me. I think people get used to going in a certain way and then they use that as a cut across, right? So when you get to a point of 745 dwellings, and it's like, oh, you know, if we actually go 54th, 37A, we're over at the arena, right? Like it sort of becomes a natural progression for people to move through the communities that they live in a way that's first established. And that concerns me greatly, considering that the Woodlands collector roads aren't planned until later on. The Town of Innisfail's Woodland Area Structure Plan of 2014 states that key planning factors that influence land planning in the area include, among other factors, providing efficient transportation corridors for access to and from and through the plan area, and avoiding creating conflicts between residential and non-residential generated traffic. I don't know what all of that means, but the conflict part stuck out to me because I think it's just a huge amount of traffic through an area that doesn't need to go through there when the existing approved plan on file has collector roads. Couple drone pics in 2 different views of this corner. I recognize that potentially, according to engineering, this can support, but that is a nasty, tight, almost 120-degree corner coming off of 36A onto the 54th connection. It's uneven, it's not level, it's very slippery in the winter, it's a constant area that town crews already need to kind of sand and pay attention to in order to have traffic move freely through there, which I just see getting exponentially worse with an increase of traffic on that corner. Housing, again, 6 to 10 homes per year on average. I looked at the housing discussion of 2017, and there was a lack of housing under 350,000, lack of singles and seniors housing. I, had the privilege in my work of recently participating in focus groups around a recent housing assessment, and those results aren't quite yet out. There's an open house later this week, but from what I heard from the focus groups that I was in was a significant need for rentals, affordable housing, multi-generational home, senior single living, and I don't feel that the proposed phase 1 build that Laban's suggesting at mid 450s level is what people, I'm sure there's people that want that at some point, or that they want to move, and that might free up some housing, but I'm not sure that that's the highest need at this moment. The property values is a piece. You see the Communities in Bloom picture there from 2022. It's a beautiful neighborhood. They're beautiful, mature lots that, again, the connection hasn't been there since 1989 of pushing 54th Ave through. People have been buying homes for over 30 years in that neighborhood with the assumption that the road would not continue. I recognize things change. I recognize needs change. I'm not convinced in this amendment that this need is necessary. This is the walkway that goes, so my house is at the end of 54th before the development, and this walkway connects to the next part of 54th, probably much to the dismay of many pizza delivery men. But it's a beautiful sort of separation of community. And that is what we sort of envisioned going through the buffer zone, so to speak, of where we bought our house and where the next development was. The lift station. So when I was at the open house, I heard again and again from the Stantec engineer that, we can go in and build these 38 houses without a lift station. Well, great, but you can't do anything else without a lift station. It's not going to get any less expensive. It's just continued to climb in price over the years. So why continue to delay? Why disrupt the phasing over that? So you're going to come over to 36A and 54th and start to develop. You're going to, 38, what's that going to take? 6 houses a year. So that's going to take 6 years. And then you're going to jump way across over to the other end of the parcel and start over there with probably 5 to 10 to 20 years of development in between, when as the plan is there right now and the phasing starts over towards Highway 54 and 2, like, to me, it just makes more sense. Like, why disrupt that? And there's also a piece, what if, I know you can't control all this, but what if Laban goes in, builds 38 houses, says, no, we're not going to invest anymore for a lift station, and walks, and you have a big chunk of undeveloped land that has had an altered structure throughout its history. Delay and defer. So Laban is discussing development in Woodlands since 2007, bought it in 2008, had a plan in place then, altered the plan in 2014. Why does the town have to keep making changes for a developer that's not moving ahead? There's still no timeline to start. What if they build and walk away? And this isn't my forte, to know how developers negotiate, their land use and their land rights. But it feels like it's a big ask, and it's something that they can sort of push in, and it opens up more opportunities for a multi-million-dollar developer off the backs of citizens. Right? And I know that they could go in and put up 38 homes and create 38 houses, and they're going to make money off that. But they still can't do more without a lift station. So that's what I think. I've talked to, knocked on the doors of a fair number of neighbors, not everybody. And what I hear and again, and I hope and encourage them to stand up and say their own piece is, please do not consider the amendment to connect 54th Avenue, and hold the developer to stick to their original plan and, put the boots to the ground and do the development that they said they're prepared to do in Innisfail.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you, Dixie, for that. And anyone else would like to come up and speak? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Aaron Wall. Thanks for this opportunity to speak. I live right across from Dixie. Actually, I'm the other house that borders the trees. But I do want to start off by saying that I am not opposed to development, so please don't interpret it that way. I'm definitely not a not in my backyard guy. I don't own the land beside the house. I don't own the view, and I understand that. However, when I did hear about this, the proposed changes, it was disappointing. For some context, my wife and I, we bought the house in December of 21. When we were making the decision to buy, we did look at the development plans. We thought we had found the perfect place to raise our family. It was a dead-end road, little to no traffic, beautiful scenery with a forest next door, and no plans to build anytime soon right beside us. We understand that eventually there will be houses next door, but it was most likely going to take decades to get there. Our children would be adults and moved out of the house before that happened. So the proposed changes, they do flip that dream, if you will, on its head. Instead of construction being decades away, it moves the first phase directly beside us and likely beginning within a couple years. It opens up our road to excess construction traffic and then more traffic as people begin to move in. What we thought was going to be a dead-end road when we purchased it will no longer be so. This was absolutely a factor in our decision to buy. We have 5 children. We homeschool them. Their playground is our property. We purposely looked for an area that had minimal traffic to reduce the risk to our kids. If we had known that the development plan would shift this way, we would have looked elsewhere. We would have looked for a cul-de-sac or something like that. The area is starting to fill up with young families. Our neighbors beside us, the Allens, they have 2 small children. Dixie, she has 1. More young families are going to keep moving into the area as the older generation moves out. And as stated before, I'm not opposed to moving or to development, but I am asking that you allow us the peace and quiet that we all signed up for. Please maintain that development begins at the south end of the property, as the previous plan states, and works its way towards us. And I would also ask that you keep our end of the street a dead-end road. But I will say this, if you have to connect it or if the developer really wants to connect it, make it the last thing you do, not the first. Don't allow it to become the way into the development. And I would also ask that you ask hard questions of the developer. I've been told, as Dixie mentioned, the reason for the plan change is because they want some money to build a lift station. Well, 5, 10, 20 years from now, a lift station is going to be even more expensive. So if they're committed to building on this property, get the lift stations built now and get developing it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, anyone else would like to come up? Welcome, Tammy.
Hello, thank you. My name is Tammy Thompson. My husband and I live on 36 A Street. I don't really have anything else to add to what Dixie said. I think she did a great presentation. So I do agree with what she has presented. One thing that she did mention is just the traffic going down 37th Street into 36 A Street is a nightmare as it is now. And if we increase that, it's only going to get worse, and there's no way to control that. So I just want to thank Dixie for doing this presentation for our area, and thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Next, anybody?
My name is Deborah Allen, and I live on 37A Street. The main concern I have is from a safety aspect, with the train being so close in the case of a very unfortunate case of a train derailment and an emergency situation, whether it be chemical or fire or otherwise. I really worry about my grandchildren that live on 54th and the people in that area of the new development. only having that access for emergency vehicles, I think that's a real concern. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next. Oh, Gail, oh, Pat. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Gail Chappelle, and I live right beside Dixie. And I agree with her. I have to agree that why is the town council continuously, the history of this development, the town council is continuously changing bylaws according to what a developer wants who hasn't yet begun to decide when they're actually going to start their development. So it seems like maybe enough is enough and start at the south end where the proposal was to begin and go at it from that angle. Also, as many have stated, the traffic already is fairly significant through there, and I think that it would make sense to have the collector roads as the main entry to the development, as opposed to coming down residential streets that are quite congested already. Thanks.
Thank you, Gail. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I feel so good I'm on this side of the table and not yours. I'm Pat Churchill, and I don't live anywhere near the area, and my question is to either the development officer or whoever is, what about the heavy equipment coming in and out? I know in 2014 that was a major concern about that development, how they were going to get it in and out from that small collector, 54th Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward? No? No? Okay. All right. I will ask if there's any further comments then from administration. Okay. And then also, does council have any further questions for any of the gallery that we heard from today? No? No? Okay. Councillor Bates?
I do have a question for administration, I think. With regards to the last question that came from the gallery, has anybody looked at the heavy equipment accessibility of that street and corner?
I guess, to Councillor Bates, I guess, I don't think specifically we've looked at the construction. What we can say is refer back to Manager Shaw's presentation in regards to that. It is rated a residential collector road. So those are designed for obviously heavier vehicles as well, but we haven't specifically looked at what the impact would be on that roadway with heavy equipment.
Well, two things come to mind to me, and actually one of them was a suggestion from a citizen that I wasn't smart enough to think of, but so I see two different types of equipment. First of all, there'd be whatever comes in there to do the land clearing and all the building of the streets and putting in the services, and then secondly would be the typical construction that comes into any residential area to build a house. And you know, I don't know how long a trailer it takes to haul whatever has to go in there. I don't know. I don't have that knowledge, whether getting around those corners and stuff works. As I said, a resident suggested to me that perhaps some of the heavy equipment for the initial construction of the subdivision could possibly come in an alternate route, a temporary route, or don't know, just throwing it out there, but I'm trying to vision a semi with a cat on the trailer or what. Again, I don't even know what it takes to go in there, an earth mover, Not sure.
CEO Becker?
Mayor Barkley, to Councillor Bates' question, those are real concerns from you, council, but also the citizens. Those are discussions more related to development agreements and negotiation with the developer at the development stage. Those are questions it's really difficult to answer. We don't have that level of detail. That would come at a future time, as we would with any form of development. So again, it come in the form of development agreement negotiation between the town and the developer.
Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. This question is for Manager Shaw. Thank you, Manager Shaw, for the pictures, the satellite pictures of the buffer area and the natural environment. So what I'm curious about is, I understand the desire to build the buffer, but I'd like to know more about what will happen, what will arbitrarily or with a plan happen to the rest of the vegetation and the wildlife. I think it's fair to say that in the years that this land has been owned by Laban, the world has changed. Planning practices have changed, and certainly our awareness of urban forests and the requirement to have vegetation and trees is becoming more and more enhanced. I would hate to see earth movers move in there one day, one afternoon, and take all those trees out. So can you please tell me what kinds of rules and what kinds of stewardship the town can apply to that land relative to the vegetation?
So through the chair to Councillor Wing, that's very true. What would likely happen is that you would see a good portion of that forested area be removed to accommodate the single-family dwelling lots within that area, leaving that buffer of 16 meters. Now, there hasn't been a study done that looks at the forest area from the context of, what type of species are there, or what would be the impact of removing a selected amount from that area, or how could you design the subdivision so that you retain as much as that vegetation as possible. We don't have that level of detail at this particular point. Rather, we're looking more at a very broad type of scope in terms of what the landowner wishes to see happen within this particular area.
Councillor Harrison?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to Manager Shaw. The aerial view of the buffer, we see a 54th Avenue, and there's 4 homes, 2 on each side to the cul-de-sac or to the turnaround. My question is that the same width as 36A Street, or is it narrower? Because the picture, what I see is you're going from whatever a collector road is down to a bottleneck, and then you come around the corner and you're back up. So my question is, how wide is 54th Avenue to the cul-de-sac there?
So through the chair to Councillor Harrison, 54th Avenue itself is a 16-meter wide right-of-way with a 10-meter carriage width, which is the pavement plus the gutter. 36A Street is a 20.117 meter wide right-of-way, or 66 feet, in other words, with about a 12.5 meter carriageway. So that's why you see that there's a significant difference. Now, in the planning through the years, back in 77, 54th was actually supposed to come straight through this area. You notice in the aerial diagram, 54th, you could see it being full width up in the upper portion of the figure that was shown. And what happened is that in the 88 plan, the subdivision plan, there was a change that was configured so that the geometrics street design changed from that 20-meter right-of-way, because 54th itself was also supposed to be 20 meters wide. That was then narrowed down and actually moved further to the east to where you see the present configuration. So you had a little bit more distance between the rail tracks and any development in that area of the community. But the actual subdivision back in '77 identified that there were supposed to be houses backing onto the rail right of way. And then in '88, that changed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bates.
Yeah, I have one more question. So I think I got the answer to the first one, that it would be done in a way that's reasonable and prudent. But my other question is, I mean, we have planners on our staff, and we have access to PCPS. And the question is, does the proposed change reflect reasonable planning practices with respect to the development as proposed, phase one?
Through the chair to Councillor Bates, yes, the proposed development or proposed design reflects planning principles with respect to development happening. It reflects your strategic plan. It reflects the current municipal development plan. And certainly from the standpoint of seeing residential development happen within this community, it supports that principle as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Manager Shaw, just one question for you for clarification. You just referred to the municipal development plan. We're currently in the process of updating that plan. So if this is approved today and we have a new municipal development plan in 6 months and this doesn't align with the plan, then what happens?
So what would happen is that the MDP would be looking at existing plans in place and determining their land uses and making sure that those land uses reflect what the planning hierarchy shows.
So just one follow-up then. Has there been a conversation with Laban to suggest that they've waited this period of time, wait another period of time till this new plan comes into place and they can be assured that everything lines up to their advantage as well as ours? Is that a consideration for them?
So through the chair to Councillor Wing, we haven't discussed that with Laban. With respect to the timeline for a new plan, we're looking into 2024 before such a plan occurs. It certainly offers the opportunity for further reflection if that was council's determination with respect to any potential development in this area. But at this time, council has a plan in front of it, or a proposed plan in front of it for its consideration, much as councils before with the other plans that were presented for this property.
All right, thank you. So I think that's,
Can I get you to reopen? Give me a chance to say something on the comment?
yep, for sure, Ron. Come on up.
My name's Ron Bristol. I live on 5367 36 A Street. We've been there 35 years. I've been in construction my whole life. I know how this is going to take place. If they get access down that road, they're going to bring all their heavy equipment down there, scrapers, D7s, D6s, track hose, everything else. It's going to destroy that road. I don't think you can get a lowboy around that corner without backing up into someone's driveway. So that's one comment I'd like to make. I don't think anybody's done an evaluation of the species of birds that are in that forest. It's huge. There's at least 60 to 80 different species that live there. I'd like an evaluation done to check on that. I think some of it should be saved. I think this is a chance for the town council to step up and say, okay, we're going to make a wildlife corridor there, or it can be part of a trail system similar to what you did at Aspen Heights. Something like that would be attractive. It preserves the species that are in the area. And if you give them access to do phase one development right there, they're not going to bring that heavy equipment in twice.
They're gonna take all those trees out right up to that buffer zone, and then we're gonna be sitting there for 6 houses a year for sell 38 lots. We're gonna be sitting there with sand blowing in our doors for 7 or 8 years. So that has to be taken into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, so I think now we will, if there's no further questions, we'll close the public hearing. I just need a motion, please, to do that. Councillor Dunham?
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion that we close the meeting.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, and just to let people, were you voting, Gord?
I was.
Okay, thank you. Tammy, try to control him, please. So just so you're aware, Juanita, I don't know if you can bring the agenda up so people can see the agenda again. So we've got some other council business to go through in 5.5 and section 6, and then we'll get back to this item in section 7. So you're more than welcome to stay. I don't think these other items are going to take too long. And then we will get into this again. So I will turn it over to CEO Becker for his CEO report.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'll be fairly brief. Councillor Mazzeros, Councillor Wayne gave an updated report, a detailed report about their experience at the Federation Canadian Municipalities Convention recently. I attended along with them, and my report reflects just, it's a supplement to what they told you. Certainly willing to answer any of your questions. Also, the report includes my experience with the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators Conference, which I attended following the FCM convention. Again, the information is there for your consideration. Certainly happy to answer any of your questions. Administration is requesting council to consider adjusting the June 19th agendas and priorities meeting to make it a formal regular council meeting with the intention of allowing administration to take advantage of a professional development opportunity. What that means is that council can make any decisions as you deem appropriate as a regular council meeting at the 19th committee meeting, but then moving to cancel the June 26th regular council meeting. As we do most at this time of year, we do look and watch what's happening and adjust council's committee schedule based on summer holidays, but certainly administration would advise you if anything of crucial nature requires your immediate attention. So right now I'm not suggesting canceling any further meetings until we see how the summer proceeds. So with that, council, looking a couple motions from you is to adjust the June 19th agenda as a priorities meeting to make it a formal council meeting, with that canceling the June 26th meeting. As well, council, so sorry, one item I did not talk about is there's an engagement opportunity slated for October that council may want to consider. I was wrong within my report. It's there's an opportunity to engage with Justin Reimer of the Emissions Reductions Alberta and Economic Development Guru or Champion Todd Hirsch in October as part of our small business week. More specifically, I believe October 18th, they're both available. We do require some funds to secure that engagement. So looking for council consideration to allocate $10,000 from the operating reserve if you deem that engagement appropriate. So I'll take that. Any questions, Mayor Barclay?
Okay, thank you, CEO Becker. So I'll have someone please make the first motion with respect to changing the AMP to a council meeting.
I'd so move that council provides public notice that the June 19th agenda and priorities meeting is considered a regular council meeting, and the June 26th agenda and priorities meeting is canceled.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison. Any questions about that? All in favor? All right, carried. Then I please ask for someone to make a motion for the $10,000 Todd Hirsch. Councillor Maceros.
I'd like to make that motion. Thank you, Mayor Barclay, that council approves the unbudgeted expenditure of $10,000 for a small business week engagement event to be held in October 2023 to be funded from the operating reserve.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions, discussions about that? Councillor Hystad.
I just was wondering, 10,000, is that's promoting the week itself, and then Todd's Okay, that's what I wanted clarity on.
It's Todd Hirsch's fee because he's no longer with ATB. He's
Yeah.
private now, so he has a fee to come and speak.
Okay,
Justin
that's
Reimer-
his fee.
Justin Reimer does not.
Okay, all right.
And there'll also be an opportunity for some business people in the community to have a private meeting with the two of them as well.
All right. That's all I want to know.
Okay, for sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Any further questions about that? All in favor? Okay, opposed? Nobody? Okay, carried, thank you. And then also have a motion that we accept the CEO report for June 12th. Councillor Bates?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? All right, carried. So we will now get into our council action control. And when somebody's ready, I'll have you make a motion to accept this as information, please.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any comments, questions about anything on here? Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. Then we will move on to 6.1, Parkland Library Foundation Financial Report with Director Vickers.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So Parkland Library is mandated to operate under the Alberta Libraries Act and related legislation and regulations. Its primary purpose is to provide equitable access to information and library materials for all of our residents by working with our member municipalities, First Nations, and other partners to reduce barriers to information posed by geography, demography, technology, institutional mandates, and physical facilities. In 2022, MNP, which is otherwise known as Myers Norris and Penny LLP, was used by Parkland Library for their annual audit. MNP, as an independent firm of chartered professional accountants, was appointed by the board to audit the financial statements and report directly to them. In the opinion of MNP LLP, the financial statements attached are presented fairly in all material respects, show the financial position of the library as of December 31st, 2022. And the results of its operation and its cash flows for the year ended in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for nonprofit organizations. So the report is attached and included in their 2021 audited financial statement report. They do include the following. So they have their management's report, independent auditor's report, and then they have their statements. So they have their statement of financial position, statement of operations, statement of changes in net assets, statement in cash flows, statements in changes in accumulated operating surplus, statement of remeasurement gains and losses, as well as their tangible capital assets, and then notes to the financial statements. So unless there's any questions, I would like a motion for council to approve them as information.
Okay,
Accept them as
thanks.
information.
Thank you, Director Vickers. Could I please have someone make a motion? Councillor Wynne?
Mayor Barclay, just one comment. As an appointed member to the Parkland Library Board, I can tell you I'm extremely impressed with not only their operations, but certainly this audit was very well done and the organization is in great hands. So I would like to make the motion then that we accept the audit report for information.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about anything? No, all in favor? All right, carried. Okay, so we will go back to our bylaw discussion. So we're going to begin with 7.1, our request for decision, and this is the bylaw 1704-2023, changing commercial to residential. So I will let Manager Shaw take it away.
So Mayor and Council, you have a report before you that looks at consideration of second and third readings for Bylaw 1704, which deals with the municipal development plan and amending the plan from commercial to residential. So a lot of detail has already been provided to you. And so what administration is recommending is that council does grant second reading to bylaw 1704-2023 to amend the municipal development plan for a 1.49 hectare, 3.67 acre portion of the northeast quarter, section 17, 3528 west of the 4th from commercial to residential. And then also that council grants third reading to bylaw number 1704, 2023, to amend the municipal development plan for a 1.49 hectare, 3.67 acre portion of the northeast quarter, section 17, 3528 west of the 4th, from commercial to residential. Now, as I indicated in our discussion so far, so what you do with the municipal development plan, you also have to do with the area structure plan and the outline plan, so that the plans are consistent. So if we're changing this particular area to commercial, then that should follow through with respect to the area structure plan and the outline plan.
Okay, thank you, Manager Shaw. Can I please have someone make the recommended motion? Or go to, I should say, second reading.
So I'll move that council grants second reading to bylaw number, glasses on, 1704, 2023, to amend the municipal development plan for a 1.49 hectare, 3.67 acre portion of the northeast quarter, 173528 west of the 4th, from commercial to residential.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bates. Any questions? Just have a question, Manager Shaw. How many homes can you put on a 3.67 acre site approximately, single families? How many per acre?
As much as about 48.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a second reading, all in, oh, sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, no, I
Westphal.
was just gonna, I'm okay with this. I think there's an opportunity for the affordable housing piece, and that's what I'm going to continue to push as we talk about the potential housing. So, thanks.
So Mayor and Council, let me recalculate that. Based on 3.67 acres, you're probably looking at less than 20.
Okay, that
Sorry.
sounds better. I thought 48 sounded a bit
Yeah.
dense, but, okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, so we have a motion for second reading. All in favor? All right, it's unanimous, and we'll move to consideration for third reading, please. Don't need, okay, sorry, we'll move to third reading.
Mayor Barclay, I would move that council grant third reading to bylaw number 1704, 2023, to amend the municipal development plan for a 1.49 hectare, 3.67 acre portion of the northeast quarter of section 17, 3528 west of the 4th, from commercial to residential.
All right, thank you. Any further comments? No, all in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, and now we will move on to 7.2, request for decision. And Manager Shaw, go ahead, please.
So Mayor and Council, you have a report that outlines to you with respect to bylaw 1705, 2023, as well as the Woodlands outline plan. So the recommended motion to you, and I understand that Council has had a lot of information provided to you this afternoon, and I would imagine that your heads are swimming with all this information. But our recommended motion is that you do grant second reading to bylaw number 1705-2023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 1630, 2019, being the Woodlands area structure plan to reflect localized changes to select parcels within the north half of section 173528 west of the 4th, and plan 71 NY lot O as shown in Schedule A, and then also that council grants third reading to bylaw number 1705, 2023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 1630, 2019, being the Woodlands area structure plan to reflect localized changes to select parcels within the north half of section 173528 west of the 4th, and plan 71 NY Lot O as shown in Schedule A, and that also council adopts the Woodlands outline plan by resolution.
Okay, thank you, Manager Shaw. So what we'll do is council wishes, have someone read the first motion, and then we will open it up for discussion from council to see where everybody sits on this. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I'll move the first motion that council grants second reading to bylaw number 1705, 2023, being the bylaw to amend bylaw number 1630, 2019, being the Woodland area structure plan to reflect localized changes to a select parcels within the north quarter section 17-35-28-WM4M and Plan 71 NY Lot 0 as shown in Schedule A.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dunham. So we will open it up for discussion, please. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, and I'll just start off by saying I cannot support the second reading. I think when this was first presented, I had brought up a number of the concerns that have come from the gallery today, and the biggest one for me is traffic flow and the safety around that cul-de-sac. I've walked there many times, and I agree with a constituent that presented up here. I don't know if you can get a highboy around there with a D8. That is a real bottleneck. You're taking a 20-meter right-of-way off the subdivision, and correct me if I'm wrong, Manager Shaw, and you're pushing that traffic, 380 vehicles a day, into a narrower right-of-way, into a bottleneck on a cul-de-sac, back to open it up. I just don't see that as being very, first, efficient, and there's a safety concern. I think we heard from one of our constituents that there's younger families, and we're supporting younger families in our community. And, you know, when they move in, I live on a street that is really, really busy. I haven't counted the vehicles, and there's children playing on that street. There's parking on both sides of that street. And it's just a matter of time that somebody's going to get hurt. So with that, I cannot support second reading. I can't support I can support maybe a service road coming out of there or a utility right away, but I certainly can't support what we call a collector route. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I would like to offer my support to Councillor Harrison. I will not be supporting second reading of this motion. From a different perspective, certainly I appreciate everything that Councillor Harrison has said. It's been a tough debate in my brain for the last little while because we do have a problem in Innisfil. We have a housing crisis here, and I want all of us to consider what this means for the future and for future development. We are in the process of doing a housing assessment. That there will be another workshop this week. We have a municipal development plan that is in the process of being changed. There's lots of things in the environment and relative to the needs of our residents that we need to be considering. I am concerned about the lack of progress on this land. I think it's been a long time, but maybe the time lapse is what's going to provide us with some really good progressive planning as we move forward relative to the environment. I don't like single access in and out of communities. I believe we need to be focused on multiple access. Safety, especially along a train corridor, is certainly one of them, but that's been a practice in the past, and I would really like to see us change that as we move forward. I just, I want us all to consider that we can't choose our neighbors, but we can do really good work to ensure that we have adequate housing that's affordable and accessible for everyone. So I look forward to those conversations with this community as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hystad.
Yeah. No, I won't vote in favor. I think the presentation from Dixie and the rest of you is great. What I want to say is, we are talking about affordable housing. I know Janice had mentioned that. Also, Ron had mentioned the environment, and this subject kind of reminds me of Upland Aspen when we were developing the 12 acres up there, where we try to have a balance of environment as well as the homes there. And I think we can do a really good job with Laybon. I think it's going to be sometimes there's going to be some difficult discussions, and to make sure it's a win-win for our community. That's how I'm looking at it. And I really appreciate that everybody coming out today, because it makes our jobs easier to create more of a balance in our community. And I think that's very important. So thank you.
Councillor Maceros.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I appreciate also everybody who spoke today. And I agree with my council colleagues that I can't support the second reading. I think a number of questions came to the front today that there's too many unanswered questions, I guess I would say. And some the points that were brought forward are, they're just, you know, they're valid points that make it so that I can't support the second reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Once again, definitely appreciate everybody that presented today. And just a few comments. I won't be supporting it either. I understand that the market dictates changes to development plans, but we have an inventory of empty lots in this town already. We do need more housing, but by building another subdivision, especially one that is going to be the expense of the current homeowners, to me just doesn't make sense. Once again, you hear frequently about traffic patterns. Once they're established, they're very hard to change. So by doing it as what is proposed, I think we would get ourselves into big trouble. Other things, more green space consideration. I know this isn't the time to discuss this, but we as a council have discussed this further about other parcels in town and what we're going to do with it. So I think that's something that we need to consider. We're trying to attract, as a town and as a council, we're trying to attract new people to this community to try and grow it. But are we going to do that at the expense of the citizens that we already have? And what example does that set? So those are just a few of the reasons why I can't support the second reading.
Thank you.
So I won't be voting against my fellow councilors because there's too many things that they've brought up that are, and the gallery brought up, that leave questions. But I'd like to remind us all that there are a bunch of things that we've blurred in here. I certainly would like to see a third active developer in town because we only have two and one of them selling, so, and inactive. Like Laban owns this land, they have control of their land. They can proceed with what they have approved. And we really don't have the authority to preserve big sections of forest and that sort of thing. And not that I don't appreciate them too. I live in a special place in Innisfail that has the water preserves. There's nobody going to develop in there. But we have to keep some of those things in mind too, that there are certain things that I think did get blurred in here that hopefully Laban will still have an interest in Innisfail and be one of our developers because in my opinion, we need them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bates. And yeah, I cannot support this motion. I was not a huge fan to begin with, to be honest with you. For a variety of reasons, I look at, you know, the one build out of 38 homes. Quite frankly, you could probably build 38 homes today and sell them in this community. And what I am hoping for is that we will find a developer who has the confidence in this community that I have. And that means investing in our community. Let's look at a master plan community that builds out many phases. And I also had a concern when I looked at further phases down under this proposed phase one that they would still potentially flow up through 54th Avenue onto 36A. Know the area well. It concerns me getting a whole bunch of traffic going down there, and I do understand how upset you would be if you have been living there for many, many years, or as the one gentleman said, you bought a house there and you looked at these plans and and you thought, okay, I'm going to live here, I'm going to buy here because I know this street is blocked off. And, you know, this kind of thing happens all the time. We make changes and stuff, but as Councillor Bates said, I'm very hopeful that Laban will come back to the table with administration and discuss opportunities. We need housing, but we also need a developer that's serious about this community. Housing is probably my biggest frustration right now because we can't seem to get anything going, or we get started and then it stops and developers come and go and things just don't happen the way we hope them to. So I will not be supporting the motion, so I guess I will ask who is in favor of the motion at this time, and then who is opposed. Okay, so there you go. There's the afternoon. And I'd also like to thank Manager Shaw and administration team for all their work, and for Laban. You know, I know we reached out to them quite a while ago to see if we could spur some development on, and like I said, I hope that conversation has not died. I would love to see that south end open up with a lift station, etc., to get the development in that south end opened up, not only for housing but for commercial as well, because we could certainly use it. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming today and giving us your feedback. We appreciate it very much, and go enjoy the rest of the summer afternoon, and we're going to stay here for a while. Bye. Yeah, so, sorry, just trying to catch my head here. So we're 7.3, we're now with the Dolphin Swim Club, and welcome, if you just want to
I'll
give
give
it.
a
Yeah,
an
thanks,
intro if you
Megan.
want, sure. So thank you, Mayor Barkley. We're just looking to present for discussion a request received from the Innisfail Dolphins Swim Club to waive pool rental fees for the 2023 season. So the Dolphin Swim Club is a user of the Aquatic Center from May through August every year. They've submitted this request due to financial challenges for the club. The club typically uses the pool Mondays through Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. and then on Sundays from 10 a.m. to noon. Plus, they have 2 weekend swim meets. The pool rental rate for youth sport is $64.83 per hour based on current rates, and is the same rate charged to water polo and the kayak club. So the current permit for the 2023 year bookings is $11,884 based on that hourly rate. I do have some financial information that the club submitted that didn't get into your packages, but we have Kendra Helderson here from the swim club to discuss further. Good afternoon.
Loud voice as it is, but.
So Kendra, I'm not sure if you want to go through the PowerPoint presentation you guys provided or give a bit of an overview of the submission.
Sure, we can go through the PowerPoint if you'd like. I just realized there is a few spelling mistakes, so I apologize in advance. But so who are the Innisfil Dolphins? So we are a nonprofit competitive swim club that has provided youth in our community an opportunity for personal development through sport for 70 years. Athletes practice daily, also participate in swim meets and social events. Through these practices, swim meets, and social events, the swimmers learn about dedication, setting and achieving goals, teamwork, physical fitness, confidence, and overall well-being. Our club continues to promote an inclusive and supportive environment for all youth to participate in and for families to enjoy. So you're probably wondering, why are you here then, right? What are we requesting? The Innisfil Dolphins is respectfully requesting relief or assistance with our regular season Innisfil Aquatic Center rental fees for the 2023 season, which is May 1st to August 17th. Why are we requesting support? So as with many other local sports groups, definitely not just the Innisfil Dolphins, but we've been faced with financial hardship since COVID. Our numbers have gone down since COVID, and our expenses continue to rise. During COVID, we were forced to limit our registrations due to mandates and policies set in place through Swim Alberta. Our club has essentially decreased in half since that time. We are slowly trying to rebuild, but it's been quite slow to rebuild. Less revenue has also been generated from, due to our lower numbers, less revenue has been generated from swimmer registration fees as well. We've noticed a big difference since COVID from revenue generated from sponsorship and our additional fundraising efforts. Previously, we had a parent who was a WestJet employee, and we were able to run the WestJet gift of raffle, which generated $10,000 each season towards our pool rental fees, which we did use to pay our pool rental fee every season. That was unavailable during COVID, and now that family has since moved for employment purposes, so they're no longer with our town. So that's not an option to us. Our casino fundraiser as well was spaced out over more years due to COVID. So we used to be kind of on the 2-year mark for our casino, which helps substantially. Now we are 3.5 to almost 4 years. So our next casino is not scheduled until 2025. Month is to be determined at this point. We have requested that we be put on the cancellation list for one that may pop up sooner than that, but we have no guarantee on that at this point. Another thing that we have experienced as well is Swim Alberta registration fees have increased. So just every athlete that joins our club, we have to register them with Swim Alberta for insurance purposes. So that has increased, as well as coach registration fees and coach course fees. So I'll just kind of skip down to the fourth point about the coaching costs. So you might think, hey, why don't you get volunteers to coach the swim club, right? That would be a cost-effective method, but unfortunately, in the swimming community, coaches are paid, unlike some other sports. It's a daily commitment, 5 to 7 p.m. Swim meets every Saturday, and typically we have to pay on par with what the lifeguards make with the town, as it would be very difficult to secure skilled coaches because they typically work as lifeguards, swimmers, people that have succeeded in the sport of swimming. So typically we have to pay on par with what the lifeguards receive in order to secure ourselves coaches with the town. Swimmer entry fees as well. Sorry, let's go back to that point too on that. Yeah. So swim meet entry fees as well. Typically those aren't set at the start of the season. That kind of occurs once the season gets going, once clubs start to realize their costs. So for example, for the Lacombe swim meet last weekend, it cost us $35 per swimmer to register. So how many swimmers did we have for Lacombe?
We had 35.
35. So we're looking at over, $1,000 for a one-day meet.
$330 our check was.
Yeah. So some people, in the past, I've been involved with the swim club for almost 9 years now with my children, but previously we were looking at maybe $16 per swimmer, so it's almost doubled in the amount, and that's just due to extra costs with Swim Alberta, Swimming Canada, different fees. So that's kind of beyond our control, but it's something we have to pay. You might be asking, well, why don't you just get families to pay those costs per meet to attend? The struggle is we do have a lot of families who have, 3 to 4 children who are participating. So on any given weekend, that could increase their costs, $140 or whatever it might be just for their kids to attend. So if you're going to swim meets every single weekend for the season, it's looking at quite a substantial cost per child. So that's one thing. We do have some families who as well struggle to pay the fees as it is. So we try to keep our costs low. We want to, my understanding is the town wants to kind of promote young families, and that's kind of the goal of our club as well, one of the goals of our club. In addition, pool rental fees have increased, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and my understanding is I'm being told it's going to be increasing another $10 per hour coming next season, and that's with the local sports rental fee as well. So then I touched on the fourth point, which is the coaching, but we'll go now. So you might ask, well, what are you guys doing to generate revenue if you're kind of in this financial predicament? We continue to actively seek sponsorship from local businesses, community partners. We've noticed since COVID, not to keep talking about that period of our lives, but since COVID, we definitely have noticed a drastic decrease in donations from local businesses, which we understand, and we understand where they're coming from. But so typically, for an example, we might have a standardized donation might have been $500 to $1,000 from one business, and now we may be $250 would be a high amount, $250. So it's drastically decreased. We actively fundraise, so we have 2 bottle drives every season. We're doing a swim-a-thon this year, which is a new thing that an extra trying to garner revenue, and we'll run a 50-50 at our swim meet. Although they are helpful and positive, with our fees, it's difficult to kind of maintain any type of dint towards that pool fee rental with those fundraising efforts. We have slightly increased our registration fees, our swimmer registration fees to families. The reason we have done that slightly is because, like I said before, we do have some families who struggle to pay fees as it is, and we do feel like we're trying to build our club. If we drastically increased, as an example, $200 per swimmer, we would for sure then our numbers would drop even lower. So next year we are going to have to increase them a little bit, but I can't say we probably wouldn't be able to increase more than $100 per swimmer, because I do think we would lose a lot of swimmers because of the cost. Another thing that we did stop doing to generate revenue is we stopped providing swimmers with team suits a few years ago. It was a substantial cost to the club, and also team shirts. So now families have to purchase their own merchandise. So that's one thing we did in attempt to try to generate revenue or save money. So how will relief with pool rental fees help us? So you might wonder, well, how is this actually going to help you if you're in such a desperate financial situation? We strongly feel that the relief of pool rental fees for the 2023 season would be the additional support our club needs. This combined with our continued efforts to build our club, continued efforts to seek fundraising opportunities, sponsorship opportunities, and other, we're actively seeking opportunities in order to generate revenue. We're not just going to say, if we're provided some type of relief, we're not going to say, we give up, that's it. We're going to continue to actively generate opportunities for generating revenue. We also feel that it would leave us in a better position for this season as well as next season until we get to our casino in 2025, the casino fundraiser, which we were being told the revenue generated should be back up to pre-COVID amounts. Our last casino was over $10,000 less than usual. We were told that now it's kind of getting back to what it used to be. So that's positive, and we're hopeful for that. What value does the club bring to our community? I know some people might not be familiar with swimming, the swimming community, what that means to people. I'm very passionate about Dolphins and what it's done for my kids and so many kids in the community. We continue to promote an inclusive and supportive environment for all local youth that wish to participate. We've had youth who have had, physical challenges, and various different types of people who have participated that have been able to enjoy our club and felt that they were part of something, and it was just such an inclusive environment. We also have many families from surrounding areas who do attend Innisfil on a daily basis during practice. And in that time, I have my one friend who actually kind of lives in the country, and she goes, during the month of swimming, the season of swim team, I purchase all my groceries in Innisfil, whereas typically in hockey season, that's not the case, right? Because she's not in Innisfil. So that's positive as well. I think that there's many benefits to being involved in a swim club: increased self-confidence, improved body image, which is huge for teens and youth. It's very important. Improved mental health and overall well-being. Additionally, the Dolphins have emerged as a premier competitive club in the province. We have won the Sports Team of the Year award in the past. We have been ranked as one of the top 5 clubs in the province for years. In 2019 and 2022, we did win the Regional D trophies, which is a huge thing. We're competing against clubs Calgary, Edmonton, so our population numbers are just so much on a lower spectrum, but we're very competitive and we're very well respected in the swimming community. So even if you're not familiar with the sport of swimming, I encourage you to check us out because we just really kind of can hold our own. It's quite impressive. We're very well respected in the swimming community, and our athletes are known for sportsmanship, respect to others in competition, and it's just so valuable to the club. So we definitely feel that the club not only provides value to our community in terms of improving athletes and improving their overall well-being, but also just in terms of bringing value to our town and community. I always like to say that I feel that the club gives a chance for youth to build lifelong skills that they can use as they become future community members in Innisfil, right? And work at the pool as lifeguards, and there's just very, very positive things coming out of the club. So we just had a few swimmers submit some quotes. So what does swimming mean to me? So the first one's actually my daughter, but I've swum with the Dolphins since I was 8 years old. I've made lifelong friends and improved my confidence. I couldn't imagine the last 8 years without swim team. It's also given me the skills, swimming endurance, and confidence to obtain my NL course and become a lifeguard with our town. So another parent didn't want to say their name, but they said no other club is like this in this town: positive, welcoming, inclusive for all kids, and affordable for single income families as well. And so I'm not sure if you guys want to read the other quotes or if you want me to read them out. It's okay. So we just want to thank you just for reviewing our request. We understand it's a large request, and we are grateful that you guys have taken the time, councillors and the mayor, to listen to us speak, or me ramble. In a lot of cases I'm rambling, I apologize.
No, you did great. Thank you for coming. It was good. Do you have anything to add, Director Jenkins? Or?
No, nothing from.
Okay. So are you, are you still actively fundraising out in the community for corporate sponsorships? And
So we are. We have numerous letters out. I'd like to say we've pounded the pavement pretty hard to try to get actively seek sponsorship. We've approached Red Deer County as well. Okay. They were able to give us a small amount, $1,300. Some of our bigger sponsorships in the past that, like I said, used to be $1,000, now is approximately $250. But we continue to actively seek sponsorships and fundraising opportunities that can assist our club.
Yeah, I don't know what everybody's going to say, but what makes it difficult, right, is you are forgiving rental fees for an organization, and we have so many different organizations that rent ice and rent pool, and our operational costs, we lose about $1 million a year between the arena and the pool. So the rate is already heavily subsidized, and so it's hard to balance sometimes that and trying to make it fair for everybody. But I will open it up to the rest of council here. And anybody want to say anything? Councillor Hystad?
Will you be able to get through the year if we're not able to give you anything?
We will have to go to families for more money.
Yeah.
Else we won't get through the year.
Yeah, and just ask for sponsorship around the community. Have you, and my last question would be, have you tried to work with any of the other sports groups in town to fundraise or collaborate to help one another initiate something like that? I'm just trying to be creative, just sitting here listening to your presentation. You did a great presentation. It's tough when you have 40 kids. And honestly, COVID did kick everybody in the butt.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And we know we're not alone in that, right? So we actively, as a board, sit and think about what are some options we can do here and like the swim-a-thon is one thing that came up, and we're just going to run that during practice time. And and as an extra fundraiser. It's difficult, right? Because there's so many clubs struggling, so it's hard to, everyone's just, and it's a small pool of businesses, so everyone's hitting the same businesses,
Yeah.
right? So we know we're not alone, but we're actively seeking options, and you know, we just, the difficult thing is if we have to go to families, that's kind of one of our last resort, but at the same time, I just know there's lots of families struggling too. So if we say we need to, you know, gather another $200, like that can be a lot of money for a lot of families. So we're trying to look at other options before we go that route as well. But
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Councillor Bates?
I just saw in the comments that you at least span the ages 4 to 17.
Yes.
So what is your registration fee? Is it progressive by age and hours in the pool, and just how much is it?
Yeah, so our registration fees, do you have the exact? I can go off my memory, but so it's based on our half-hour group is this might be a give or take $25, but $4.25. Our 5 to 6 p.m. group is for the intermediate swimmers is $500. Our hour and a half group, which is the senior swimmers, would be $575. And we have raised them a little bit over the, you know, but it's difficult once you start getting over $600 for a family who has multiple children. It's a huge hit, right? So.
Okay, no, I just wondered what it was.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, if you're a hockey player, you pay a lot, but a lot of it's equipment, but you
Yes.
pay a lot to get on the ice too.
For sure.
I don't know. I guess other sources, what they could be. We have the solar fund that they help administer. Is there any opportunities there to get something, or I'm rhetorical question to administration, I guess.
Well, and I'm also wondering too, like, is there any funding available through Alberta government, through sport or federal government for this kind of thing?
Not that I'm aware of. There's programs, of course, to support individuals with things like registration fees, those types of things. Just on the solar farm, I guess for this year, those funds have been allocated. Just a thought that's coming to my mind. I don't know if the timing of when you have to pay it, if that's something that could be considered by council as well.
Yeah, and that is something that we were going to mention. Honestly, like we would really struggle if we had to pay the pool rental fees this year, and we don't want to get in a situation where if we can't pay this year, we can't swim next year. So that is something that we would additionally request. If there's no relief available, we would request that we don't have to pay that invoice right now and it be delayed. Just so I don't want to not be able to run next year if we can't pay that invoice, and that's our concern. So I would also like everyone to consider that as well.
Yeah, no,
as an
for
option.
sure, like, and be wide open, honest with us. We're here to listen and not here to judge, that's for sure. So, CEO Becker?
So with the request, if I may, council, that's administrative. Certainly would take that request, and we could certainly ponder that. That's, if council is comfortable with that, you can certainly put that back to administration. We often make arrangements with special circumstance, as long as we ultimately get to the end. That's our goal, but how do we get there? Sometimes we have to be flexible, whatever, but that's something we can discuss internally.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you could leave it with us, like we have another council meeting next week, and maybe at that time you could come back with some different scenarios that we could take a look at, and maybe even see if there's any, funding Megan through the Director Jenkins through the community benefit agreement for next year potentially, or maybe there's government funding. We could reach out and contact somebody, see what's out there, and try to help and work with you. And
yeah, I have been trying to search for grants.
Yeah.
Some of them, the timeframes don't match with our season though, so that makes it difficult as well, right? But yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Do you want a motion, CEO Becker, or you're okay with just coming back?
Yeah, we can come back.
Yeah,
Berkeley.
okay. All right. So thank you so much again for coming. We appreciate your presentation, and sorry that you're having these struggles, because the Dolphins has certainly been a very important part of our community for a long time, even back when I was young. So that's a long time ago. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, and we'll probably hear back from administration next week on some different scenarios, and then they can be in touch with you, okay?
Okay, thank you for your time.
All right. No, thank you. Okay, we're just going to take a minute, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Should we all take a minute?
When Manager Shaw said that 48 houses, I was like, I don't think so. I was like,
Okay, so we will,
he was on a.
we will carry on, go into 8.1, correspondence and information. And there's a proclamation in here, Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Last year, Innisfail Pride Society did approach council in the town about raising the flag and the proclamation, at which point it was done, and we really appreciate it. And we're looking for the town to once again fly the flag from the Friday the 23rd until Monday the 26th, and hopefully have the proclamation signed by the mayor again.
Okay, do you want to make a motion then, Councillor Dunn? We don't need one for the flag, do we, CEO Becker? Like, you have the ability to determine that, so we don't need to worry about that. But do you want to make a motion then that we designate June as Pride Month? Through
Absolutely.
proclamation?
I would like to,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
I would like to make
okay.
that motion that town of Innisfail declare June as 2S LGBTQ Pride Month.
Okay, through proclamation, okay? All right, all in favor? All right, carried. Can we go back to the list of correspondence again? Sorry. Make you scroll up and down. Oh, I saw it. I saw it for a moment. There we go. So just to let everybody know, I got the agenda yesterday. The annual AGM for CAPE is this Thursday morning at the golf course. There's breakfast and then the AGM, and then Zach, can't remember his last name, from Alberta Council is coming in he's the keynote speaker. So if anybody would like to go, you could let Juanita know today. At the very latest tomorrow morning. I believe tickets for non-board members to go is about $50, $49 and change to cover breakfast and other expenses. So just wanted to bring that up. Then of course we've got this delegation summit. CEO Becker, are you waiting for more information about that? Like, as far as the delegation coming from India, are you still waiting for information from Jake? And
Yeah, there'll be information,
Okay.
Mayor Barkley, probably just the cost of the transportation.
Okay.
Other than that, I think it'd be minimal. I think
Okay.
time and then probably some swag bags, but transportation is expected to be the highest
okay,
expense.
so you'll bring that back to us at that time
Yeah,
for
once we know what that
approval
is.
and everything? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. So just to highlight that, so in September, we have with CAPE and immigration specialist, they will be hosting a 40-person delegation coming from India. In September, there'll be a 4-day tour, and one of those days part of the day will be here in Innisfail. So that will be looking forward to that and get more information as we move forward. Can you go back to the list again, Juanita? Sorry. I guess I could bring up the list myself.
Just a question, the delegation summit, so does that require something from Innisfail, or is it all coming from Cape?
No, it's going to require some expenses from Innisfail, so transportation. So we apparently are responsible to arrange transportation for them to come to Bowden and Innisfail for an afternoon. Their base is going to be the Pomeroy and Olds. And probably some snacks, muffins, coffee, that kind of thing. But other than that, not much. So I think CEO Becker is probably is discussing with CEO in Bowden about arranging transportation. And
Okay.
okay. And then we've got rodeo parade this weekend. Is everything on the go for that? And are we getting lots of entries? And
Last I heard, we do have more than we have in previous years.
Okay.
That was mid last week.
Yeah.
So
Okay, great. That's awesome.
Hopefully, typically this last week is when people all of a sudden think, oh yeah, we should do that. So
yeah, okay, perfect. That's great.
10, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And okay. Okay. I think.
Be there with coffee and we'll be good.
Should just bring more candy. Dog biscuits. I always want dog biscuits. Will you? Thank you.
The kids will eat them.
I don't care. I've eaten a dog biscuit. They're not that bad. They're just a bit dry. low sugar. Thanks. Woof, woof, woof. I'll just have someone make a motion, please, to accept the correspondence as
Mayor Barclay will
information.
make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay. Then, don't even know where my agenda is anymore. There it is. We'll go into council reports, and we'll begin with Councillor Bates today.
Outside of council, I had a visitor the last 10 days, gone last Thursday, Bruce Medore. I don't know if any of you knew him. He moved to Pugwash, Nova Scotia, where he originally came from. Anyway, it was interesting to have Bruce. He took me back to Drumheller, and we found some dinosaur bones. And it's also interesting just to talk to him about life in Pugwash. They have a lot of the same problems we do with healthcare and housing, and it's kind of right across the country. I also attended the mayor's garden party, and I went to the heliport dedication, and I had a granddaughter graduating, so I got to see all the dignitaries, including the mayor, speak in the morning, and then we continued on into the late afternoon with their version of a prom, and then they all went off to do their thing at the Safegrad. Upcoming this week, I guess, we have the Delburn, Alberta municipalities, and I'm offering the carpool. I've totally mastered the air conditioning in that thing now. Well, I've got that under control too. Coming back to the Police and Safe Communities meeting, it'll be a long day. On that Thursday, I have the Mountain View Regional Water Commission, and I do plan to go to the parade. So be there at what time? 10. Be there at 10. And so parade starts at what time? 10:30. So we can talk later about who wants to, or if we're going to meet here and a couple of cars go or whatever. Delburn.
Okay, Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I also attended the Mayor's Garden Party last Tuesday. It was well attended, always lovely to see the people that come, and always many thanks to the hospital and the Rosefield Center staff that bundle people up and wheel them over. Thursday morning, I participated in an Innisfail Public Library Service Review Workshop along with staff and volunteers from Friends of the Public Library. And then later that day was the grand opening of the heliport, which was lovely. This week, I have AM in Delburn. I have a Parkland Executive Committee meeting on Thursday morning, so I will not be able to come to the Cape AGM. And then, of course, looking forward to the parade on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I also attended the Mayor's Garden Party, the heliport grand opening. And also on Saturday evening, I attended the Punjabi Cultural Society. I guess it would be just sort of a meet and greet or like an annual meeting or whatever. But it was a very interesting evening. We got to taste a different culture, or I did. That's the first time I've been introduced to the Punjabi group. We had some great food. We had some great dancing and music. And I can tell you the costumes and the dress that was there was just phenomenal. Beautiful, like gold and everything. So, and they're looking to, wherever we can, partner with the town and try and get a little more involved. So, yeah, it was good. This morning, I attended the floor shuffleboard 2-day tournament, sort of championships for our mayor, Jean. And I learned a lot about floor shuffleboard this morning, which I didn't know. But I got to throw out the first, they're not called rocks, they're called discs. and you got a stick and you push it, and it's quite interesting. So I did that this morning. And what they're looking for is, there's only two people, there's only one couple from Innisfail that participates in that league, in that club. And there's players, 88 of them from across Canada in town for the next couple of days. So it was really good. So if you get a chance, Wednesdays they practice, and they got sticks there, they got discs, so go on down. And it's at the curling rink. Yeah, it was really neat. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I think I'll quit there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Thanks for going today. And Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I unfortunately was not able to attend the Mayor's Garden Party due to ongoing staffing issues, which was very disappointing, but Mayor Barkley was kind enough to send me a video of what I was missing, and I'm glad that many others on council were able to attend. I was able, on a very hot afternoon last week, to attend the helipad opening, which was wonderful to see so many people out for that. I will be attending the Summer Municipal Leadership Caucus in Delbert, and I would also like to attend the Cape meeting on Thursday, please, and I will definitely be at the parade throwing candy out again this year.
Thank you, Councillor Maceras.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I also attended the Mayor's Garden Party, and I brought my dad there. It's the second year that he's come out, and if he is kind of an example of what that garden party means to that generation of people. My dad went home, he hasn't smiled like that in such a long time, and he said that it's about the music. He knew all the music, and he said if he's still around next year, he's going to be going to, I think it's his favorite day of the entire year. I went to the Historical Village Committee, represented last week, and one thing I just would like to say is that they're doing a Father's Day joint venture with Field and Forge, where you buy a ticket and you get a steak and a beer, and then you can go up the street to the Historical Village to look at trains, wagons, and Lawrence's old vehicles. So that's happening on this Sunday. They asked when Jason's coming back. I don't know if that's an indication of how I've been serving, but I went to the heliport grand opening and was just filled with such a sense of pride about what has been accomplished, and I think about all of the efforts that previous council made towards this project, and it was pretty cool that we were able to kind of be there as this council and just hear all of that. I'll be at the Policing and Safe Communities Committee meeting this week, and at the parade, and I also went to the Punjabi Cultural Society event on Saturday night, and that was an amazing event as well, and it will be great to have those relationships so that we can start, building some of our own events here in Innisfail. Thank you.
Thank you, and Councillor Heistad.
I don't think the village wants me back. Anna puts up with me, so with the whole board welcoming. I have welcoming committee this week with Councillor Dunham, and it's I know it's not a council thing, but it's important to be aware of. I just want to recognize the staff and everybody that went to the STARS thing. I wasn't there. I was working, had to do my job. But I think the dedication looks really good, like the plaques and everything. I walked by this morning with Charla, and I thought it looked really great. Actually, it's a project that we should be really proud of. It's pretty cool. Parade, I'm a question mark because I got a board meeting on Friday. I might go to Saturday if it doesn't go through. I'll be there on Saturday to hand out pens. Remember we had pens last year? Do you remember that? I think we had pens. I gave out umbrellas. I was like, this is the weirdest parade ever. But it was good. People like the pens. I did have, last Friday I had a board meeting with Alberta municipalities. It was the investment board. So I was there until 1:30 in the afternoon, 9 a.m. until 1:30. They serve great lunch there. So that's what our dues goes to. But it was a good meeting. That was my second one. I had missed one previously. And then I just got a question about the horseshoe pits. This is curiosity's got me. There's a flagpole there, and there's an Alberta flag flying. And I don't know if we have protocol on flags, but there's a flagpole there. I think we should have a Canada flag and an Alberta flag. I don't think it's. This is at the horseshoe pits. I should have been specific, right? Pardon me? I don't know, but I'm curious. Like, is there should be a flag protocol if, I think it's our facility, isn't it? So, and I'm just going to be Jason, a little chippy right now. This is Canada, not the state of Alberta. Canada and Alberta, we should have both flags. That's just my point. And that's why I thought I'd bring it up to administration. Thanks.
Okay, so you can check into that and see what's going on with the flagpole. I don't think it would be normal to have a flagpole at the horseshoe pit, so that's self-planted. Maybe, yeah, they could have, yeah, for sure, so you can check into it, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay. Yeah, so last week, of course, went to the garden party, the heliport opening. I just want to say to CEO and the whole team, you did such a tremendous job, Kristen and Sandy, for the garden party and the volunteers that came to help, as well as the heliport. Thanks for getting the chairs and tents out on that hot day, and the water and everything. It really went well, so we appreciate your support in doing all that. And went to grad, of course, on Saturday morning, which was great. It was Mr. Pino's last speech to the students. There was a lot of tears on that stage when he was giving that very inspirational talk to the kids. Then Saturday night, went to the Central Alberta Punjabi Culture Society event. I'm kind of like Elmer. I think I'm still smiling from that event. He was still smiling from the garden party. I think I'm still smiling from that event. It was so much fun. The hospitality was unbelievable. They could teach North American culture a lot about hospitality. And we danced. I said we did dance. We got dragged up on the dance floor and they made us dance. And the food was fantastic. Met the owners of Pet Value, Circle K in my neighborhood. Met him, as well as, of course, Innisfail Pizza. And the enterprise that the Gill has was there. We made great contacts. It is pure economic development in action that evening. And so looking forward to further discussions coming out of that. And I would say, like, there was people there from Edmonton and Calgary that come to this event. So I've been getting a few texts from individuals I met that night, and I'm not quite, can't remember everybody, but grateful that they're reaching out. Met Jag, who's organizing the India delegation that evening. Wonderful person, and so looking forward to having more discussions with them. We were at Red Deer Polytechnic this morning for a meeting with Stuart Cullum, president, as well as some others, which was a really good discussion. Won't get into details right now because I'm not prepared. And I'm going to the shuffleboard dinner on Tuesday night at the Legion. And then, of course, we have Cape on Thursday morning. I cannot attend Delburn because I did commit to looking after the Golf for All program that Ellen Helgeson runs for people with early stage dementia this Wednesday. Is that Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. And so I need to go there and look after. She has a sold out group that comes every week. They have a waiting list actually to get into that program. So need to go there because I committed to doing that. So we will move into open mic session. Just kidding. We'll go into upcoming events. And I just want to point out June 22nd, CED committee meeting. I don't believe that is a thing, correct?
I don't believe there will be
Okay.
a meeting. Yes, we will. We'll be looking to send out a cancellation notice. There will, however, be an MPC meeting. I know the last few have been canceled, but Tracy's not getting away without one
Yeah,
more
no
meeting.
kidding. Okay, sounds good. So that's on the 19th? No, the 20th.
The 20th, yeah.
See that? Okay, perfect.
It's on, is it?
Okay, so I'll-
Is there an NDP that day as well?
I believe so. I need to discuss with Gordon on that one, but yeah, I haven't seen that agenda yet.
okay. We'll just have somebody make a motion, please, to accept the upcoming events as information.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Thank you, Councillor Maceras. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we will have a motion to go in camera, please.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Thank you. All in favor? Great, thank you.